It's 7 p.m. Tuesday, May 14th, here in Seoul. President Moon Jae-in pledges billions of dollars and a slew of other support measures to help small and medium-sized businesses. South Korea's unification minister meets with civic groups to collect public opinion on the government's plan to send food aid to North Korea. Seoul wants the aid to be sent by September. The government says it will raise bus fares and partially pass on ownership of the country's buses as drivers threaten to go on strike over low pay. And China's retaliation against US tariffs sends shockwaves around global financial markets. South Korean stocks, however, rebound on risk-taking. NEWSCENTER begins now. Good evening and welcome to Arirang News Center, coming to you live from Seoul. I'm Noah. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. Our top story this evening: President Moon Jae-in has promised to focus the government's efforts on helping small and mid-sized companies. This comes as his government recognizes that SMEs' growth is essential to revitalizing the economy. Our Park-Jun starts us off.
Beginning his third year in office, President Moon Jae-in says this year will be dedicated to achieving positive changes that can be felt by small and medium-sized businesses.
중소기업은 우리 경제의 허리입니다. 중소기업이 성공해야 일자리와 가계소득이 늘고 국민이 잘 살게 됩니다. 국민이 잘 살고 소비가 늘면 소상공인도 활력을 갖게 됩니다.
President Moon Jae-in met with hundreds of businessmen from SMEs and related organizations on Tuesday to lay out the government's plans to support the growth of their businesses. According to the president, around $18 billion will be used to support some 1,600 firms this year. That's up 10% from the previous year. He added that 4,000 smart factories will be built in 2019 alone to improve the performance of smaller companies, and that number is forecast to climb to 30,000 by 2022. Unnecessary regulations will also be removed. South Korea's regulatory sandbox has already approved around 50 companies with innovative financial technology within the first 4 months of the sandbox's implementation. That number is expected to hit 100 by the end of this year. Tuesday's event took place just 2 weeks after the president visited a Samsung Electronics factory in efforts to support the country's systems semiconductor industry. According to a Blue House official, President Moon acknowledges that the economy is driven by various players and that Tuesday's gathering aims to encourage smaller firms, including those in the manufacturing sector. It's his first visit to the headquarters of the Korea Federation of SMEs in Seoul to attend the annual meeting of heads of small enterprises. It's also the first visit by a sitting president in 11 years, with former President Lee Myung-bak last visiting in 2008. Park-Jun, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, President Moon has ordered his cabinet to speed up their work on boosting the South Korean economy. He also again asked for bipartisan support from the National Assembly. Here's the president speaking during today's cabinet meeting.
무엇보다 정부가 제출한 추경의 신속한 처리를 위한 논의가 시급합니다. 추경은 미세먼지와 재난 예방과 함께 대외 경제의 여건 변화에 대응하고 국내 실물 경제와 내수 진작을 위해 긴요합니다. 국민의 삶에 직접적인 영향을 주는 민생 예산입니다.
President Moon called for a meeting with the leaders of the country's political parties, saying they need to reach a compromise over contentious issues such as the provision of food aid to North Korea and economy-related matters. He added they can discuss the most pressing issues as long as the main opposition Liberty Korea party agrees, sending a direct message to the only party that has strongly opposed such a meeting. North Korean state media has defended its recent launch of projectiles into the East Sea, calling it a normal military exercise conducted within its territorial waters. Radio Pyongyang on Tuesday blamed South Korea for violating the Inter-Korean Comprehensive Military Agreement aimed at reducing tensions by conducting joint Dongmeng drills with the United States. It added the international community, including the US and Japan, hasn't said Pyongyang's launch violated any rules, as it wasn't a mid-range or intercontinental ballistic missile. Acting U.S. Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan says Washington's diplomatic approach to North Korea has not changed despite the regime's recent firing of short-range missiles. Shanahan was speaking to Fox News on Monday in an interview explaining the Trump administration's goal of denuclearization. But he also said his job is to make sure the U.S. is prepared in the event diplomacy fails, saying that's his focus with the military. In other news, the South Korean hostage rescued from Burkina Faso last week is back home after being given the all-clear by French health officials. But while she returned home safely, Seoul's foreign ministry says there are still other Koreans in high-risk areas. Our foreign affairs correspondent Lee Ji-won with more.
The South Korean hostage, who was rescued from militants in Burkina Faso, returned to South Korea on Tuesday afternoon. Upon her arrival, the National Intelligence Service carried out an investigation as required by the Counterterrorism Act. The woman, only identified by her surname Chang, was kidnapped a month ago near the border between Burkina Faso and Benin and was held along with one American and two French nationals. They were all rescued by the French army last week. The Korean hostage had reportedly been traveling around the world for a year. And starting January, Chang traveled through Africa, including Mauritania and Mali, two countries that are under the second highest travel alert by Seoul's foreign ministry, which recommends that people leave those countries as soon as they can. The majority of Burkina Faso was classified as the level below that, the highly cautious level when Chang was captured. But due to that event, Seoul on Monday adjusted the travel alert level of the eastern part of Burkina Faso to the second highest level. Despite the warnings, there are travelers who are still out in those countries risking their safety. The Foreign Affairs Ministry also says that it is hard to keep track of each and every citizen unless they are in regions under a full travel ban. There are 7 regions under Seoul's travel ban, and Koreans who enter and remain in those areas are subject to criminal punishment for violating the Passport Act unless their travel has been approved by the government. However, the ministry says there are still well over 1,000 people in those countries, including the South Korean man abducted in Libya last July. Seoul's Foreign Affairs Ministry says it'll review the travel alert levels of African and Middle Eastern countries and find better ways to inform people of the travel safety guidelines via social networking sites and the ministry's webpage. It said it'll also continue cooperating with other countries more advanced in crisis management to make improvements in those aspects. Lee Ji-won, Arirang News.
South Korea says it hopes to send food aid to North Korea by September of this year. In a bid to collect opinions from all walks of life, Seoul's Unification Minister began meeting with civic and religious groups. Arirang's Unification Ministry correspondent Oh Jung-hee tells us more.
September of this year. That's the deadline by which South Korea hopes to send food aid to North Korea. Speaking to reporters Tuesday on the condition of anonymity, a Unification Ministry official said the government is looking to fit its plans to report last week from the World Food Program and the Food and Agriculture Organization. The report says May to September is when the North needs food aid the most, ahead of harvest season. Seoul's food assistance could take one or more forms: a direct shipment to the north, an indirect one through the WFP, or a combination of both. To discuss that matter, plus the timing and size of the aid, Seoul's unification chief will be holding a series of meetings with representatives of the public. On Thursday, he started by meeting with major civic and religious groups.
Today, I'll be listening to the opinions of groups that are very involved in humanitarian work and have plenty of experience.
The groups gathered here have worked on humanitarian assistance to the North for over 20 years. We've done negotiations and monitoring a number of times. If the government is going to give the North humanitarian assistance, I hope you don't do it by yourself. The government can do it through us. That will help lessen the political burden and we can carry out better monitoring.
Meanwhile, North Korea continues to release news articles on the food shortage. On Thursday, the North state-run newspaper Nodongshinmun said the drought is taking a toll on crop production. Wheat and barley, is said, are drying up, and corn is also being damaged, and it urged people to protect their crops. Oh Jung-hee, Arirang News.
Trade tensions between the United States and China are escalating further, with Beijing announcing it's raising tariffs on tens of billions of dollars worth of American imports. Kim Hye-sung has the details.
Beijing struck back Monday, saying it'll raise tariffs on $60 billion of American imports. The announcement came just 2 days after President Trump raised tariffs from 10 to 25% on $200 billion of Chinese goods last Friday, while U.S. and Chinese negotiators were discussing a trade deal in Washington.
The attempt to exert extreme pressure can only trigger legitimate countermeasures. The measures China takes are not only to safeguard our rightful interest, but also to preserve the basic rules of the multilateral trading system.
More than 5,000 U.S. goods ranging from liquefied natural gas to beef and vegetables will be subject to additional tariffs of 5 to 25% starting June 1st. Tensions between the world's two largest economies are rising despite their ongoing talks. The U.S. Trade Representative is set to hold a public hearing next month to look into imposing tariffs on all remaining imports from China worth $300 billion. But at a White House event late Monday local time, President Trump signaled that a deal is possible after saying he will be meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping at the G20 summit next month.
We'll let you know in about 3 or 4 weeks whether or not it was successful. You never really know, right? But I have a feeling it's going to be very successful.
3 or 4 weeks because it's still more than 2 weeks before the Chinese tariffs take effect. Trump's new 25% rate affects only products sent to the U.S. on or after May 10th, leaving a 2 to 4 week gap from the time most goods leave China to when they arrive at an American port, giving both sides time to try to reach a deal before the latest round of higher tariffs kicks in. Since last year, the U.S. and China have exchanged tariffs on over $360 billion worth of goods. Several sticking points remain, ranging from U.S. demands for intellectual property protection to structural reform in China, also Beijing's refusal to specify some of the changes made to its laws. Kim Hye-sung, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, South Korean stocks closed a tad higher on Tuesday as slightly more optimistic comments from Washington and Beijing over trade negotiations relieved some concerns. Our Won Jung-hwan has this report.
Korea's benchmark index, the Kospi, opened sharply lower on Tuesday over concerns about U.S.-China trade talks, but rebounded by midway through the trading session to close the day 0.14% at 2,081.84. It was a slight recovery from the previous day when the index plunged 1.38% to mark its lowest close since January 14th. Experts blame the latest jitters on the renewed trade dispute between the world's two largest economies and attributed the rebound to excessive concerns the previous day.
There has been a recovery in the Kospi market today, I think because they overreacted yesterday.
But concerns about overall sentiment still remain.
However, things are very unstable. We don't know how President Trump will react. We don't know how President Xi Jinping will react. We don't know if this protectionist trend will continue and get bigger. We don't know how China and U.S. will retaliate. So I think the market psychology is very unstable. They're very nervous right now.
Meanwhile, the local currency renewed a more than 2-year low from just the previous day. It closed just below 1,191 to the dollar, down 1.91 from Monday. It was the fourth fall in the past 5 sessions, and experts are concerned the continued depreciation could negatively impact the domestic economy.
One of the reasons why there continues to be a lot of foreign investment in Korea, even though Korean policy interest rate is lower than U.S. policy rate, is that Korean won was expected to gain in value, appreciate. And if Korean won turns to a trend of weakening, then those investors may decide that Korea is not a good place to invest in, and they may withdraw their foreign investment.
The better-than-expected performance by the U.S. economy in comparison to the weakening local economy is believed to be the main reason behind the won's continued depreciation. 원정환, 아리랑 뉴스.
President Trump has announced that he will meet Chinese President Xi Jinping at the G20 summit late next month. Here he is speaking at the White House on Monday.
Maybe something will happen. We're going to be meeting, as you know, at the G20 in Japan, and that'll be, I think, probably a very fruitful meeting. But
he added he believes China wants to strike a deal. Earlier this month, Trump claimed Beijing had reneged on key parts of the deal being negotiated to help American farmers whose products are the target of China's tariffs. Trump said his administration is planning to provide about $15 billion in aid. Now, the chairman of one of South Korea's largest conglomerates, Lotte Group, met with US President Trump today at the White House, on Monday at the White House. Although details of their talks were not revealed, they apparently talked investment. Cha Sang-mi with the details.
Lotte Group Chairman Shin met with U.S. President Donald Trump in the Oval Office on Monday local time, making him the first head of a South Korean conglomerate to have the honor since Trump took office in the early 2017. Asked what the two discussed at the meeting, Shin revealed they talked about various subjects, but said he could not elaborate. President Trump tweeted soon after the South Korean billionaire left the White House, touting Lotte Group's investment of $3.1 billion into the state of Louisiana. Trump said the investment will create thousands of American jobs, adding South Korea is a great partner that knows the U.S. economy is running stronger than ever. The visit comes as Shin was in the U.S. to attend last week's completion ceremony of Lotte Chemical's ethylene plant in Lake Charles, Louisiana. The new plant is the largest ever facility in the sector and can produce up to 1 million tons of ethylene a year. Lotte Chemical holds an 88% stake in the project, with its American partner, Westlake Chemical, owning the rest. Shin was accompanied by South Korea's ambassador to the United States, Cho Yun-jae, and senior Lotte Group representatives. Matthew Pottinger, a senior White House official for Asia, was also at the meeting. Cha Sang-mi, Arirang News.
South Korea's export prices rose for a third straight month in April. The Bank of Korea says the export price index came to 83.48, up 0.5% from March. Exports of electronics fetched lower prices, but overall export prices were lifted by petroleum products. At the central bank said the import prices went up 1.5%, mainly on higher prices of global oil and raw materials and a weaker won. South Korea's benchmark Dubai crude rose 6% on month, recording an average of $71 a barrel. Shifting gears now, and in a bid to stop bus drivers going on strike tomorrow, the government has offered to increase bus fares by about 17 cents starting from Gyeonggi-do province and introduce a semi-public bus management system. The announcement came after Transport Minister Kim Yeon-mi discussed ways to prevent the strike with ruling party leader Lee Hae-chan and Gyeonggi-do Governor Lee Jae-myung at the National Assembly. If the semi-public system is adopted, the government is likely to compensate losses for long-distance buses. The bus unions have been demanding a wage hike and more government support, claiming they will be paid less if work hours decrease due to the 52-hour work system. South Korea has been suffering from some of the worst levels of fine dust recently, and to raise awareness of the issue, locals have created an outdoor restaurant in Seoul's Gwanghwamun Square where almost 300 people had dinner in the smog. To get more, let's connect to our Choi Xiong, who is at the scene for us. So Xiong, tell us what it's like there now.
Well, Adam, people finished eating their dinner that started about an hour ago. Now, dining outdoors today, it's a symbolic demonstration showing locals here are determined to fight fine dust. And demonstrators are calling on the policymakers to draw up special measures to reduce the levels of fine dust. And people here did more than just eat dinner. They actually measured the levels of fine dust before and after the meal to show just how serious the pollution is. Now, let us take a listen to what the demonstrators have to say.
Fine dust pollution is serious. I took part in today's event, so good policies are rolled out to help people breathe cleaner air.
An outdoor restaurant in Seoul's Gwanghwamun Square seemed meaningful, so I came. I think we should all take this issue seriously and find a solution.
Participants watched a documentary on how people are dealing with the fine dust pollution in their everyday lives. Now, students of all ages call for a cleaner sky and released around 2,000 white balloons. And musicians also took part to liven up the event. Now, former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, who now heads the Presidential Committee on Climate and Air Quality, offered his congratulatory remarks via video. And that'll be all. Back to you, Adam.
Well, thank you, Xiong. That was our Choi Xiong reporting from Gwanghwamun Square. Now, UNESCO's evaluation agency has recommended adding South Korea's traditional Confucian academies to its heritage list. These academies were used to educate young Koreans during the Joseon dynasty. Our Kan Young-woo tells us more.
9 traditional Confucian academies in South Korea, called Sewon in Korean, are one step closer to being added to the UNESCO World Heritage List. According to Korea's Cultural Heritage Administration on Tuesday, UNESCO's evaluation agency, the International Council on Monuments and Sites, recommended that the scholarly sites are added to the list. Sewon are private Confucian academies established during Korea's Joseon dynasty to honor renowned scholars and educate young people. 9 sites have been recommended for the list, including Sosu Sewon in Yeongju and Dosan and Pyeongsan Sewons in Andong. The Cultural Heritage Administration had previously applied for the Sewons to be added to the World Heritage List back in 2016, but it withdrew its bid after being deferred by the International Council on Monuments and Sites. Seeking consultations with the evaluation agency, the Cultural Heritage Administration reapplied in early 2018. After almost a year and a half of evaluation, the Sewons have been finally recognized for their outstanding universal value. The final decision will be made at the World Heritage Committee meeting in Azerbaijan, which will be held from June 30th through July 10th. If successful, the Sewons will become South Korea's 14th item on the World Heritage List. Kan Young-woo, Arirang News.
Several South Korean films have been invited to this year's prestigious Cannes International Film Festival in France, which starts on Tuesday. The Korean film industry is also said to be attracting more foreign movie distributors. Lee Min-sun reports.
The 2019 Cannes Film Festival has invited some new South Korean films to join the glitz and glamour in the south of France. They include Parasite, directed by Bong Joon-ho, and Lee Won-tae's The Gangster, The Cop, The Devil. These films are generating a lot of buzz in the movie world, especially with the recent pre-sale record set by The Gangster, The Cop, The Devil. It has proved so popular that Sylvester Stallone's Balboa Productions has bought the rights to remake the film. Lee Won-tae's film attracted buyers with 3-minute-long promotion clips at the American film market last year, and a staggering 104 countries decided to buy and premiere the film in their country's cinemas. The original movie stars popular Korean actor Ma Dong-seok. Ma will also play the leading role in the Hollywood remake.
I think the concept of the film, a gangster cooperating with a police officer to catch a murderer, is really captivating to foreign buyers. Also, having actor Ma Dong-seok as one of the leading roles contributed to the appeal of the film. There it is, the 3 components of a successful movie: a trustworthy production, a well-known actor, and a hooking concept.
Pre-sales of Korean films have been increasing since the 2010s through international film markets at film festivals dotted around the world. A pre-sale in the movie industry is signing a deal to screen a film before production is complete. Recently, a growing number of Korean films have been sold to an increasing number of foreign countries. Train to Busan was sold to 156 countries, and along with the Gods, the 2 worlds, and along with the Gods, the last 49 days to 107 countries.
Korean movies started to command attention at international events and film festivals with film directors like Bong Joon-ho, Park Chan-wook, and Kim Ji-woon. That's when Korean films started to turn heads, changing the way Korean movies are viewed locally and globally.
With the Korean wave spreading across the globe, industry watchers say the ongoing popularity of Korean films around the world will cement South Korea's status as a country that produces reliable and entertaining films. However, they emphasize the importance of creating more unique and eye-catching content to ensure South Korea hangs on its prized position. 이민선, 아리랑 뉴스.
An American explorer has completed what's claimed to be the deepest manned sea dive ever recorded, but he returned to the surface with some depressing news. Hong Yu has the details.
Victor Vescovo, a retired naval officer from Texas, made the unsettling discovery as he dived around 10.9 kilometers below the surface to a point in the Pacific Ocean's Mariana Trench, the deepest place on Earth. It's the deepest solo dive in history, but Vescovo found out that even at the very bottom of the sea, plastic waste such as bags and candy wrappers could be found. Details of the voyage were released for the first time on Monday. Vescovo said he and his team had undertaken the challenge to test the limits of human endeavors as much as scientific discovery.
It was an amazing experience. It was an amazing dive. I think almost exactly 12 hours, about 3.5 down, 4 hours on the bottom. I think the longest anyone's ever been on the bottom of the Challenger Deep, and then about 4 hours up.
Over the last 3 weeks, the expedition has made 4 dives in the Mariana Trench in Vescovo's submarine DSV limiting factor, collecting biological and rock samples, as well as 4 new species that could offer clues about the origins of life on Earth. The team said its scientists are going to perform tests on these samples to determine the percentage of plastics found in them. Hong Yu, Arirang News.
Now it is that time to take a look at some of the digital media content available on Arirang's social media platforms. And today we have another episode of Unuse, where our Kim Dami takes a closer look at the top social and economic trends.
Hi everyone, my name is Tami, a news reporter at Arirang TV. And yes, I'm back. And without further ado, here's Unuse News for the day. 20-year-old Hayden is allergic to almost everything existing on this earth, from trees to even sauces.
He takes allergy shots every week. He takes an experimental drug every month.
But even after going through 22 surgeries for 19 years, he was able to fight through with Taekwondo. Taekwondo, which its discipline emphasizes communication with other partner, was more than a sport to Hayden.
I was kind of in a not necessarily darker place. I was getting better. I had some depression issues and anxiety. I think Taekwondo really helped me break out of that.
And it's also been proven by experts.
With health conditions like Hayden, we've had people come in with autism, with muscular dystrophy, and we've seen remarkable improvements.
Now helping teaching children, Hayden wants to become a Taekwondo master in the future. So wish you all the best, Hayden. South Koreans' love for instant noodles is hardly secret. In fact, South Koreans eat more instant noodles per person than any other country in the world, with an average of 74 packs a year. So the market is changing to suit the needs of the changing population. For increasing number of one-person households, there are mini cup noodles and also ramens that need no hot water, cookable only with microwave. For Korea's rapidly aging society, there are healthier versions like seaweed ramen, and also low-calorie versions are out on the market. But I guess consumers like me, no need to worry, just enjoy the new tasty flavors. Arrival duty-free shops will be open at the end of this month for the first time here in South Korea. So far, people were able to enjoy duty-free shopping only when leaving the country, so this is an exciting news for both locals and foreigners visiting the country. Incheon International Airport Corporation said 2 arrival duty-free shops in Terminal 1 and 1 in Terminal 2 will be open on May 31st. People can shop maximum of $600 worth of products from alcoholic beverages, perfume to cosmetics, but tobacco products will not be available. Tourists and travelers will have more convenient and easier shopping experience, and hopefully it will also boost domestic consumption. That's it from this Sunday. Don't forget to subscribe and like this channel. Bye!
Let's get a check on the weather now, and it was a very warm day today. And to see if these balmy conditions will continue, let's turn to our Michelle Park, who is at the Weather Center for us. Michelle.
Hi, now if you thought today was hot, make sure you prepare yourself for even hotter temperatures tomorrow. However, there will also be some light rain showers, so bring an umbrella out and about with you. And Beijing, on the other hand, is expected to be even hotter, with temperatures reaching all the way up into the low 30s, while Tokyo will be a bit cooler. Currently, dry weather advisories have been lifted in a lot of places like Gangwon province, thanks to the warm westerly wind bringing in some moisture. Now, the temperature in the morning have become milder these days. Now, Seoul, Daejeon, and Daegu are expected to wake up to 15 degrees Celsius tomorrow, and it will be a few degrees higher over in the southern areas. The daily high in Seoul will peak up to 28 degrees, while Busan and Jeju stays cooler. Jeju can expect some showers over this weekend, but Seoul will remain sunny, and with temperatures reaching all the way up into the 30 degrees mark. So make sure to apply sunblock and wear hats and sunglasses to protect yourselves from sunburn. I'll leave you with the weather conditions around the world.
Well, that will do it for this edition of Arirang News. Thank you as always for watching. I will be back with Han-Daeun tomorrow at 7 p.m. Korea time. More analysis on current issues coming up next on News in Depth with our very own Kim Min-ji, so don't go away.